What's going on, my young Padawans? Steel Jedi here, back today with another video. God, I haven't said that in forever. Anyways, I know this is a little bit of a different video for you guys, and most of you guys are fans of my channel because of Pittsburgh Steelers news and mock drafts, but I thought I'd come out today with a new video regarding the NBA. For those of you that don't know, I am a Golden State Warriors fan, and I've been a Warriors fan since the Baron Davis dunk on AK-47. Saw the atmosphere in that stadium at Oracle and was hooked ever since. So with that being said, I wanted to talk a little bit about the draft lottery and what my kind of thoughts are on our picks at 7 and 14. But before I get into that, anybody who is interested in basketball talk, I'm going to be talking a lot more about this between now and the draft in late July. If you want to go ahead, subscribe to my video down below, like it, and comment on what you think your team should be doing and what your opinion is on what I'm about to say. But let's get right into it. Okay, obviously, I'm lucky, and we're lucky as Warriors fans to even have 2 picks in the lottery for a team that just barely missed the playoffs. That's not going to happen every year, so I'm thankful for that. Obviously, I would have preferred to have pick 4 or pick 6, as any fan of the NBA would, but you got to deal with what you're given. And I'm not complaining in the slightest about having 2 lottery picks. Now, let me address a few things before I get into the mock that I actually have coming out here. Number one, I know a lot of people have us getting Davion Mitchell or Josh Giddey or any sort of point guard in this year's draft. And I'm here to tell you guys, even following Warriors news from the Bay Area, they are not looking really to draft a point guard. And most people are asking why. Well, it's simple. It's because of the fact that they finally have a backup point guard in Jordan Poole, who, yes, I know was drafted as a shooting guard. Yes, I know has played as a shooting guard. But if you watched any of the Warriors games, especially late in the season last year, you saw that Jordan Poole was absolutely 110% the future of that point guard position after Stephen Curry retires. So, my opinion on this draft is predicated on the fact that I do not believe we're even going to look at a point guard in the draft. And not that this player is going to make a huge impact right away, but we also just drafted Nico Mannion, who is a point guard out of Arizona. So the likelihood of the Golden State Warriors drafting a pure point guard like a Davion Mitchell, especially at pick 7, is highly unlikely. I actually have him in my mock, which I'll get into after the Warriors portion here. I actually have him going as a surprise pick to the Orlando Magic with the 5th pick. And I know a lot of people, and I'll quickly go into that, but I know a lot of people will not agree with that. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that Markelle Fultz or Cole Anthony is the future of that point guard position for their team, you got another thing coming. Okay, Davion Mitchell is ready to start right away. He's a phenomenal defender on the perimeter. I mean, he practically shut down Cade Cunningham when they matched up against each other both times. And he's a guy you could build your franchise around. The Golden State Warriors don't need that right now. Okay, so with that being said, obviously at pick 7, I would kill to have a guy like Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes is my top prospect on my big board in terms of players that are going to be positional fits for the Golden State Warriors. Why? Because he's a 6'9", 230-pound forward that can guard 1 through 5. He essentially, to me, is a bigger version of what we got in Draymond Green coming out of Michigan State. So, you got a guy who can cover point guards, can cover 2s, can cover 3s, can cover power forwards, which is actually where I would play him in Golden State, and I would kick JTA up to the backup 3. But he could also play against small ball 5s. So he's the one that I really think is a no-brainer if he's there at 7. He's a guy who I think is going to need some work in terms of his offensive game. But what you're getting out of him right away is a phenomenal, super athletic defender who can guard all 5 positions on the floor, and you're getting someone who is a playmaker. Okay, his vision on the court, his ability to be able to fit passes in tight windows is very reminiscent of Draymond Green. And if you put him behind Draymond Green for a year or 2 or 3, okay, now you're really starting to develop him for when Draymond does in fact retire. You could have Scotty Barnes slide right into that role as that 3-4 combo forward as your top defender. That is my top player on my big board, but I'm going with the assumption that he's actually not going to be there at 7 because I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and I know the lottery has just concluded, but I've seen a lot of mocks that have him going 7 to Oklahoma City. Okay, so I'm preparing for the worst in this mock. Now, obviously, the 2 guys you see on my screen right now is Corey Kispert, the shooting guard, small forward out of Gonzaga, and Chris Duarte, a.k.a. El Pepe, from the Oregon Fighting Ducks, who's a true shooting guard on their team. Now, he's only played for 2 years, but I'll get into that in a second. So, obviously, Kispert's likely going to be a player that would likely go between pick 10 and pick 15 or 16. But if Barnes is gone, I'll be honest with you guys, I think they go right to Corey Kispert out of Gonzaga for a few reasons. Number 1, he's a senior, 6'7", 220-pound small forward that has the flexibility to play both the 2 and the 3. I would play him at the 3 in our system, considering the fact that Andrew Wiggins is even an inch shorter than him, and he's our starting small forward. Okay, and he's played very well this year at the small forward position. So height for me is not really a concern at the small forward position. I would just prefer you to be between 6'5" and 6'9" at that position. But anyway, he's a senior, right? The Warriors are looking for players who are going to be able to come in and contribute right away at a very high level, scoring off the bench. If you watched any of the Warriors games from last year, you would be able to tell the 2 biggest issues that we had were second chance opportunities on the low block, which I think will improve this year with Wiseman going into his second year. And by the way, he is not going to get traded unless we're getting like a Kawhi Leonard or a player of that caliber. There's no way he is going to be traded. Okay, so he's coming into his second year. He's now got the coach that actually developed Nikola Jokic in Denver coming over as an assistant coach for us. So, and he's training with Kevin Garnett this offseason. So I think that's going to be something that is going to be improved drastically from year 1 to year 2 with him. And you still have Kevon Looney. So that issue is probably going to be either resolved or lessened, really extensively here in 2021, 2022. Okay, so that's not going to be as much of an issue, but the biggest issue, and again, I've watched practically every single game of the Golden State Warriors last year, the ups, the downs, the rise of Jordan Poole, who's going to be a star, and I'll get into him in a second. But the biggest issue was scoring off the bench and consistency in scoring off the bench. I can't tell you how many times our starters and Steph and Draymond and Wiggins, and all these other guys who they kind of morphed into that starting lineup, they built a lead. And they built a cushion of about 10 to 11 points, and they bring Steph out to give him a breather. And now all of a sudden, because you don't have scoring off the bench, the opposing team eats away at that lead and then goes ahead. And now when Steph Curry comes back into the game, now we're down and we have to be able to, try and come back in the game. That should not happen with a team that we have right now roster-wise, okay? So, adding a guy like Corey Kispert, who I know is a senior, okay? But you're adding an absolute laser from any point on the court. I have a few statistics here for you. So he played in 32 games this season, a minimum of 38 or 31.8 minutes, which is essentially 32 minutes. Shot 53% from the field on 12.3 attempts a game, and he shot 44% from three. When you watch Corey Kispert, the number one thing that jumps off the screen to you is his form on his three-point shot and his three-point shot in general. To me, he reminds me, both of these players remind me a lot of Klay Thompson, okay? And I'm not comparing the statistics to Klay Thompson because, I mean, Klay is an all-star, multi-year all-star, and has won multiple championships. But here's the thing. You add a guy like Corey Kispert, who's ready to go right away on a team that has not only playoff but championship aspirations, with Klay Thompson coming back healthy and with Wiseman coming back healthy. They have championship expectations. Bringing a guy like Kispert onto the court as a bench piece behind Andrew Wiggins is a must this offseason. And let me show you how much he's improved from three since his freshman year. His freshman year back in 2017, okay, he was 35.1% on 3.3 attempts a game. 2018-2019, which was his sophomore year, 37.4% on 4.4 attempts. Right there, 37% was right around what Klay Thompson was coming out of Washington State, right? He was between 37 and 39 a good portion of his career there. And then here's where he really exploded. His junior year, Corey Kispert shot 43.8%, so essentially 44% again from three on 5.4 attempts a game. This year, 44% from three on a minimum of 6.5 attempts a game. He is an absolute laser from deep, and when you have a guy like Jordan Poole, who's likely going to play the backup point guard position, who has handles for days, and he's an absolute playmaker, right? Teams are seeing how good he's actually turning out to be. I mean, averaging over 20 points a game off the bench when he came back from the G League. I mean, the kid's going to be a star, okay? You have that kind of playmaking ability, and now you're adding two laser shooters on each of his hips, on the two and on the three. It's a dangerous backcourt to have to try and guard no matter who you put out on the court, okay? Also, from the field, his freshman year in 2019, okay? Or, sorry, not from the field, from the line in 2019. 87.5% on one attempt a game. In 2020, 81.0% on 2.5 attempts a game. 2021, which was this year, 87.8% on 3 attempts a game. So you know, not only is he a phenomenal three-point shooter, he's great from the field, shooting 53% from the field, and he's shooting 44% from the three-point arc. You're getting an absolute scorer, pure scorer, coming off the bench. Okay, he would be a perfect fit in the Golden State Warrior system. And just for example, this year, he averaged 18.6 points per game, 5 rebounds a game, and 2 assists a game, while shooting 53% from the field and 44% from the three and 88% from the line. He's an absolute baller, total dog. And yeah, he has some issues he's got to work on. He's not super athletic, but here's the thing. You don't need to be super athletic if you're shooting at the level that you are, right? And in the Golden State Warrior system, the system that they run is very similar to Gonzaga's. So he will be a very, very, very good fit in Golden State's system. Now, at pick 14, okay, and again, I don't care if people think that Corey Kispert is a reach at pick 7, because they're also going to think Chris Duarte is a reach at 14, but let me explain to you why I'm taking him at 14, okay? At pick 14, Chris Duarte, senior, again. Okay, so he's an older player. He's 24 years old, who could play the shooting guard and small forward position. 6'6", 190. So very similar size to Jordan Poole coming out of college. He's about 2 inches taller than him, but around the same size. Okay, but here's the thing. In 26 games played this year, and a minimum of 32.6 minutes a game, he shot 53% as well. So the exact same percentage as Corey Kispert. Okay, on 11.6 attempts a game, which is one less attempt than Corey Kispert a game. Okay, also 42.4% from three, so 1 percentage point lower, 1 to 2% lower, percent lower than Corey Kispert from three on 5.5 attempts a game. So one less attempt than Corey Kispert a game. In 2019-2020, he was at 33.6%, which is about 34% if you round it up, on 5 attempts a game. So he's been literally averaging 5 attempts a game. And then from the line, he was 81% this year on 3 attempts a game, and 79.5% last year on 3 attempts a game. So his free throw percentage has gone up every year that he's played. Now remember, he's a guy who was a JUCO player, played 2 years of JUCO before he transferred to Oregon. So when he got to Oregon, he had a little bit of an adjustment in terms of the speed of the game and the talent, which is why he exploded this year, because he had a full year under his belt. Okay, he averaged 17.1 points a game, which is, let's see here, literally one less than Corey Kispert. Averaged 4.6 rebounds a game, which is, if you round that up, it's 5 attempts or 5 rebounds a game, same as Corey Kispert. And then he actually averaged 2.7 assists per game. So he's an all-around shooting 2 guard who would be a phenomenal piece coming off the bench behind Klay Thompson. So at the end of the day, you're getting 2 shooters that could be considered splash nephews, with Jordan Poole coming off of the bench as that second grouping. Now, when you look at how each lineup would be, obviously your starting lineup would be Stephen Curry at the 1, and this is all when everybody's back to 100% healthy, okay? Stephen Curry at the 1, Klay Thompson at the 2, Andrew Wiggins, who we're not trading, at the 3, Draymond Green at the 4, James Wiseman at the 5. But then your bench would be Jordan Poole at the 1, Chris Duarte at the 2, Corey Kispert at the 3, either JTA or Eric Paschall at the backup 4 spot, and then Looney as the backup 5. Okay, now in my mock, and I didn't post it on here, which I will now, okay, but to me, they also need to sign another veteran big man, like a Dwight Howard, cheap, to a 2-year deal, to really be a veteran piece to help guys like Wiseman and Looney develop. And again, now that's your 15 players, because then you have a guy like Jessup, who's likely going to be a 2-way contract as your third player on the depth chart at the backup 3. You're going to have Damian Lee as your third backup 2. You're going to have Nico Mannion as your third backup point guard. And then again, like I said, you're going to have Dwight Howard as your third backup 5. Now, the 2 players that are going to be on 2 ways are going to be Jessup and Nico Mannion. And then right there's your 15 players to start next season. And we had one of the hardest schedules in pro basketball last year and still almost made it to the playoffs. You add these 2 pieces, all of a sudden, this team is going to be looking quite dangerous, and it's a team nobody wants to play next year. So, with that being said, if you like my opinion, leave a like down below, leave a comment on what you thought about it or what your team should be doing in the draft. And like I said, I'll probably come out with 1 to 2 more closer to the draft, and then I'll likely do a draft reaction, like a live stream. So with that being said, if you guys liked today's video, I already said it, like the video, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you guys soon. May the steel be with you.